Welcome back to another episode of the Shortsighted podcast. Today we're talking to Stephanie, who started out at -8 diopters and made about 3 diopters worth of improvement already. And as it is turning out lately, we're heading more on different paths, discussing more things related to eyesight and short-sightedness. I do hope you enjoy this episode. Here's Stephanie.
I was -8.
Oh, that's right. And now, where are we now?
For close up, normalized, yes. -5.5.
Nice. That must feel a lot better, right? Like -8 is like in the area where glasses start to be not so
Yeah,
fun.
I would joke with my friends, say that I could see people's aura with those glasses. They're so strong. Like,
Do you know? And you're wearing large frames, but not very tall, and you don't mind the border around them, like dark borders?
No, I don't
No,
feel
don't
them
mind.
at all. No.
Yeah,
No,
must be better though.
what bothers
The-
me is that they keep falling. So at some point, like, I end up like those grannies, like my glasses all over down here. Okay, fix it.
Yeah,
All the
that's
time.
also fine though. And how long have you been doing it now?
And myopia, like seriously, for 1 year.
Yeah, that's
Seriously.
a lot of change in 1 year.
Yes, a lot of things change. Like I was telling you, it's not only about eyesight, it's about everything. It's your mindset, it's your habits. Your eyes are just the physical expression of how your perspective, your view of the world and life itself. So when something changes in your physical body, it's because something changed inside you in your. I don't want to be woo-woo, but
It's
I cannot.
hard. It's difficult. Because this is also what I do, right? Like I try not to get into the zone of things that you can't quantify for other people.
Mhm.
But of course, like where you're headed is where I'm always headed also, because it's really hard to stop with the glasses and not expand on the subject, right? Because it
Yes,
is.
I did a lot of research, and I came with these studies that showed that people who move around a lot when they are kids are more prone to wear glasses, to have myopia. Kids who are bullied at school, kids that don't have a functional home, family, they are like more likely to. And I have a degree in psychology. I work as a life coach, and I can tell you that every single person expresses stress, or their body expresses what they are thinking or feeling in a different way. So I believe that there are certain personality traits that go hand to hand with myopia. So it's not like the body is this like object, like is a engine or something that has pieces that are not connected with software.
Yeah, that's really interesting. People have that take. Like I talked to some yoga people recently, and they're really not interested in eyesight. And I'm like, well, when you wear glasses, like you, for example, you're wearing glasses, it limits your field of vision. So even when you walk differently than somebody without glasses, or even if you wear contact lenses, that changes because you can't see the ground. You don't have peripheral vision. You can't see the ground. So you have to look down when you walk,
And
which is an unnatural posture, right? Like most people without glasses, they see the ground from their periphery and they don't have to look at the ground. And that's just one little example. Like from the very start, like glasses affect how you interact with your environment. And then it affects how people look at you because you seem weird, right? Because you're
yes,
always looking at the ground walking around.
what's wrong with you? Like, yeah, I know what you mean. And last week, for example, I was telling you I had this cold. I'm still coughing. Hopefully it's a normal cold, but who cares? And I noticed that I was having a hard time focusing. Like I felt like most of my energy was spent fighting the virus and regenerating from the disease or illness. And it took me longer to focus. Like I would stare somewhere and but now that I know how everything in the body and the mind is connected, like, okay, I don't need to freak out or go to get a stronger prescription. I will get better. So I keep doing my breathing exercises, eating less sugar. Sorry. And yeah, it's improving again. Like I
Yeah.
feel a lot of improvement.
Are you doing only glasses or are you wearing contact lenses too?
No, I cannot wear contact. I stopped wearing them when I was 17 years old. And that's when I started thinking like, I don't like wearing glasses because it limits me a lot. I don't feel as pretty wearing glasses that when I am not wearing them. And some people say, well, that's silly because the appearance is not that important, but for goodness sake, who believe it? Seriously.
How did you do with active focus? Was that easy to find or did you have a hard time with it?
I don't remember how I found it because I did a lot of research, like a lot. Like since the moment I got my first glasses, I remember asking my mom, "Hey, can you ask the eye doctor how long it's going to take me to get my eyesight back?" And she asked the doctor. He said, "Oh, that's not meant to cure your myopia. It's just meant to, slow it down." Like, huh? Like, you're a doctor, you're supposed to cure people, not just give them something to barely function. Like you break your leg and what, you're in a wheelchair for life.
Don't give them ideas now. They're gonna be like, wait, that'll make way more money than fixing it.
Oh, no way. And that happened not only with my eyesight, it happened with my allergies.
Yeah.
Because I used to have a lot of allergies, skin allergies, breathing allergies, and doctors couldn't find where was it.
Yeah.
And we would go from one doctor to another, to another, to another. And thank God my mom never gave up. So one day she found this doctor who wasn't even practicing. He was doing something else. And he told her, check her diet.
That's a silly piece of advice.
Check her diet and how much is she exercising, because kids have to do a lot of physical activities. Otherwise, how they burn all that extra energy they have. And he was right, because that's the thing. I started going to school and I was sitting there for 7 hours. I wasn't doing any physical work. When I used to do homeschool, I would study 1 or 2 hours every day and just play outside all day long. I didn't need glasses. I didn't have that much allergies. So yeah, everything is connected with everything else.
Yeah. And how did you make the reductions? Was that pretty easy to do? Did you buy glasses locally? Did you buy them online?
Online. I got the first prescription was -8. And the doctor actually said, you know what? There isn't much difference between -8 and -7. So I'm going to give you a -7. Can you imagine that? And one more thing that I forgot to mention in the post on the Facebook group, he said you have a serious risk of retinal detachment. And I don't think we can fix that with surgery.
Why did he say that? Did he check something, look at something, or was it just a comment based on
He said he made that comment, and he recommended me another eye doctor. I went to her, and that's the thing. She was like, okay, let me see this, let me see other that. Like, oh, it's like, I don't know. She was doing like, when you go through customs at the airport, like, okay. I felt like that. And I was like, it's my eyesight, for goodness sake. I might go blind if you don't do your work.
It depends who you go to, because there are ophthalmologists that will check your retina to see if it's thinning or if there's something going on there. Because generally, I'm not giving medical advice, but with high optometry, your eyeball elongates, so your risk for retinal detachment increases technically, but that's a very general statement. It increases significantly, but the actual risk percentage is still very, very low, right?
Yes.
So it's a theoretical thing, unless somebody actually looks at your retina and says it's thinning or there's issues there. I'm not qualified to comment on, but usually it's a thing where you would go to an ophthalmologist that specifically checks that. Because it's maybe worth doing, because it might be stressing you out to have this on your mind.
Yes, and I freaked out at that moment. You know why? Because she said, okay, and she said, I'm not sure I'm going to recommend you another eye doctor. What I noticed is they just wanted the money, like they knew what was going on, but they didn't want to tell me. That happens, I don't know, everywhere. It happens here in Japan, it happens, I don't know about the US, but I haven't heard any good reviews about the health system over there. But the good news is, sorry, I interrupt you.
No.
Last year, I had a pink eye issue. So I went to the eye doctor. Sorry. And he checked me and everything. Like, yeah, here's some antibiotics, these eye drops. And I asked him, is there anything else going on with my eyes? And he said, no, you're perfectly fine. Besides the fact that you have high myopia and pink eye, nothing else. Your eyes are normal. So that corneal region, I don't remember, attachment thing is no longer in the picture. So I don't, sorry.
I mean, it's one of those things, again, that I think it's really hard. Like the difference between somebody saying you have a high risk of retinal detachment because of your high diopters versus somebody who goes and checks your retina and you get a sheet of results saying your retina is thinning or there's like other issues going on with it, that would specifically mean that you have a higher risk of retinal detachment. You know what I mean? Like if they make that general comment, it's not super meaningful because that's true. It's like if you're overweight, you have a higher risk of diabetes. It's like that, versus checking your blood sugar. Yeah. So.
Yes, I know. Back in the day, I didn't have the time because I was traveling overseas to do more, tests. But this last eye doctor I went to consult, he gave me this really good vibe of he knows what he's doing and he really cares. This is something that you cannot explain in words. You just go somewhere and to see a doctor or psychologist, a teacher, and you know that they care about it. You just know. And that's the feeling he gave me, like, everything is fine. Like I'm looking here on all these advanced machines. Here in Japan, they no longer do the stolen chart. Like, you see now they do everything with machines and there is this really low risk of, missing the prescription or making a mistake.
Yeah. Maybe. I like the old way the best because the eye chart, you see what you can see versus, autorefractors and stuff.
No, there are a lot of things that were like suspicious, like why they conducted this test in a dark room, right?
Yeah.
On purpose. And they put these eye drops on your eyes so your
ciliary doesn't work. Yeah. And your pupils are dilated. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. For me, I know that I found my myopia because I was doing a lot of research and the funny thing is, I think it was 14 years ago, I went to buy new glasses and my dad was chatting with the employee from this store and he said, sometimes the prescription can change because the eye shape is controlled by the muscles. And I was like, what? I never heard that before. And he said, yes. So it's like, having a camera and the lens. And when you do a lot of close-up work, the lens gets stuck. And you cannot focus on, far anymore. And I thought that makes a lot of sense. It's like, you have some minor injury in your arm and you only stretch it to a certain degree, and then suddenly when you want to stretch all the way, you can no longer do it because you've been always holding yourself like
right. Yeah.
So I started looking and I couldn't find. That was 2006, so I don't think Endmyopia was around by then.
It was, but not online.
No. Okay.
Those were the happy days when I was not online.
The easy day. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I think I found Endmyopia how long ago? 2017. 3 years ago.
Yeah. But then not so much serious, yeah, in the beginning.
No, I had the hunch, but I didn't have the logic behind. Mm-hmm. So I was constantly thinking, this cannot be so simple. Yes. If it's so simple, why nobody tried it before? But then I again thought, well, people don't like simple things. Like
they don't. They really don't. Every time, like whenever I get not so often, but I regularly get emails from people that show me like a much more complicated way to get to the same destination, right? Like similar premise, but just all these voodoo steps in between.
Chicken.
Yes, and there's always this theme of that must be better because it's more complicated.
Yes.
And I'm so tempted. I'm like, I know people would like it more, one, if there was more woo-woo stuff in it, and two, if it was more complicated, because then they'd be like, yeah, that must make sense because whatever in the human brain. Where it just is so simple. Like if you know me, if you look at my face, you clearly are like, this guy cannot figure out a complicated thing, right? Like it must be simple.
And simple is powerful. And again, you know it, but you're somewhere in your rational mind like, no, this cannot be. It is so simple. I think it's somehow related to the fact that you will feel guilty if it's so simple, you try it and it works, because it means you wasted a lot of time. In my case, I've been wearing glasses for the last 24 years. 24. So that means I spent like 23 years wearing glasses for no reason.
For no reason. And every time it rains. I was just riding back here to get to our podcast and it was raining. And I wear plus lenses sometimes. And I forgot to take them off, and then the rain's hitting the glasses and I can't see. And it was one of those moments where I'm like, man, I really don't miss that. Right? Like, so much nonsense.
And it's so weird because sometimes I wake up in the morning after a really nice, restful night and I can see clearly, like completely clear without glasses. And then I freak out. And boom, again, everything is blurry.
What are your differentials?
I wear 6. Yes.
6. Do you ever just try those instead of normalized?
For close-up work?
For distance. So the trick...
For close-up, I wear minus 5.5.
Yeah.
And the normalized at 6.
Okay, so a little bit bigger gap is maybe good, like 1 diopter to 1.5 diopter between the differential and the normalized.
I started having headaches.
Yeah.
That's why I lowered again the prescription.
Okay,
I was having
because the thing is, like the blur horizon difference works out better usually around at least 1 diopter. Like anything less than 1 diopter, it's either you're too high for close-up or too low for distance, usually. Like it's not an urgent thing. It's just worth for the back of your head to kind of...
Yes, I'm going to actually order those.
Yeah. And then sometimes, so when you see perfectly clearly and then you freak out, sometimes, I'm not saying this is a general solution, is meditation or relaxing walk or just something calming, and then go from no glasses to just differentials. Because sometimes if people that have this experience where I can see fine without glasses, if you trick your brain that the differentials are the normalized, right? Like you go without glasses, you try to relax, you try to get some of that vision back, and then you put in the differentials, you might see just fine, right? And then you can just start doing that occasionally when you feel like it, not all the time. Don't force it, don't push it. Just like when you have those experiences where you're like, maybe you don't need the full normalized correction. And in some cases, you find that your vision improves notably in a month or two just from doing that when you feel like it, right? Because sometimes your eyes just that's all you need. Sometimes it's all you need is a little bit of extra. Like when you're saying you freaked out and then things get blurry again, sometimes it's all it takes is a little bit of correction, like a nudge, right? Where you might not need the full normalize, just something to play with. you know?
Okay, I will try that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What are you drinking?
And sports drink.
It looks purple.
Oh no, it's just the
Oh, it's the light.
base. Yes, it's
Huh.
just,
Wow,
but
wow.
it's kind of white-ish, the drink, to get some
Looks so
extra
cool.
minerals and vitamins. Everything here in Japan has vitamins, minerals, uh, amino acids, collagen, lutein sometimes. So
Huh.
everything you
That's
buy has some extra supplement.
stuff added to it. Nice, nice. So the friendly guy is an optometrist or an ophthalmologist?
Excuse me, sorry.
The friendly optometrist or ophthalmologist, the guy you like?
Ophthalmologist.
Ophthalmologist. Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Japanese guy,
Mm-hmm.
probably, right? Yeah.
Really
So
chill guy.
so you speak Japanese as good as you speak English? Is it the same? Is it a silly question?
Um, I think I speak English better because I feel more comfortable. Maybe my pronunciation in Japanese is better than my pronunciation in English.
Huh.
But yeah, my Japanese is business level. You'll
Oh,
never
that's
get to
cool.
native unless you are born here and raised here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I used to work as a translator and
Oh, that's
interpreter.
cool.
So
That's cool. Yeah.
yeah, it's really useful because there are a lot of Spanish speakers here, English speakers, and most of them don't learn Japanese even if they live here for years. So if
Yeah.
you know Japanese, you have a lot of advantage here. I mean, a huge.
That's amazing. And plus, like what we said before we started recording, I love the difference between you speak English, right? But you speak
Mhm.
English with like a Spanish accent and you look Asian. Like the more levels, the more entertaining it is to me, obviously, because I have a weird sense of humor. But
Yes, actually, that's something that it works for me as an advantage where I work because we have a lot of English speaking clients and they're like, oh, you don't speak Spanish, I mean, English with a Japanese accent. Where are you from? And then it starts, a whole conversation, and then it escalates to a point where they start showing me their kids' pictures and telling me what their
oh yeah,
hobbies
that's
are.
always good, right?
So yeah, it's really great to break the ice because I'm fine here when somebody starts a conversation, but me breaking the ice, that's not my thing.
Yeah. Do you always wear the same kind of frames, by the way? Is that your preferred shape and
Yes,
size?
it is my preferred shape. Like if
Yeah.
they are too big, they tend to be heavy, even if they are made with a really light material.
Yeah. Is it
Um,
high index lenses that you put in there? Like thin lenses, special thin lenses?
no, they're just the average from Zenny, or they are not shipping to Japan right now because of the pandemic. So I bought them from another website.
On online website, yeah. Really expensive there to buy locally?
For my prescription, yes.
Yeah. It's interesting,
Mm,
isn't it?
I like to save money. Like, I might have some Jewish gen somewhere there, but
Come on now.
so here my prescription is, if you want the light version with blue light filter, it will be 120, 130, the affordable one, and not the fancy ones, like
Yeah.
really generic. But on Zenny I buy it for $30,
Right, yeah.
shipping included.
Yeah.
So
It's also interesting to experiment with just because I'm seeing your frame. So what happens with high adopters, especially like a dark frame kind of creates this border in your vision. So the larger the lenses and the lighter
mm,
the frame is, the less you're getting this kind of tunnely bit.
yes,
And I'm only saying this because you're making changes pretty often anyway, probably. And you have two pairs of glasses. The differential really just for sitting in front of a computer.
mhm.
It can be worth experimenting with different frame types.
I want to try one. Those that they don't have like frames; they are just the crystal. I want to try those. What I'm concerned about is these ones here. They don't have those little
Yeah, yeah.
removable pads. So when I wear those other ones, I couldn't find anyone that has this kind of support for the nose because I have a really flat nose.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of frame works really nice, supports really nice, because if they are big, that's the other thing. If the frame is big, they start resting on my cheeks instead of my nose.
Oh yeah.
And if you look my profile, my glasses are literally hanging in the air, supported by my cheeks and not my nose.
That's tricky sometimes, right? Like face shapes. I could never
Yes.
find glasses that don't make me look even weirder. Yeah.
So yes, and most websites, they have like frames more for Western faces.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's
of course,
true.
the stores here, they have for Japanese, I mean Asian kind of. But
Yeah.
then again, I don't have a Japanese bone structure completely. So everything for me is more complicated because my bone structure is different, for example, from my teeth size. So I used to wear braces for 7 years because they couldn't fit my
All
teeth
right.
in my jaw, because
Yeah.
two different genes from two different races. So
Yeah, that's true. I used to, depending on where I traveled, and highly dependent. Sometimes, just like you found the ophthalmologist you liked, like this is terrible and I'm just weird. But sometimes late mornings I would just drive around town and find optic shops and just stick my head in the door. Because sometimes you just get a good vibe from people and I'd be like, all right, these people are cool. And I would bring coffee and donuts. People bribed by sugar. And then I'd be like, I'm weird, but can we make a deal? Right? I'm gonna buy a bunch of glasses from you, but I need to be a little bit closer to your wholesale number than your retail number. Because they're paying $2 for those lenses.
yes, that's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. I went to this non-profit organization to get my prescription, one prescription. They gave me some frames for free
Yeah.
in exchange of taking a picture with me wearing the frame, because there were no, So, okay, they took me the picture. I went to a store later. I saw the very same frames for $400.
Oh, nice.
The very same.
Yeah. Yeah, these things are, I mean, just because I've been around this stuff, these things all come from China and they all cost nothing. I have titanium frames, like they're so light, they weigh nothing. And I bought them in Myanmar and they were $40 in a retail store without negotiating. Right. And then they charged me another $12 for plus lenses in them. But what I'm saying basically is I would find a friendly optic shop, right? I would bribe them a little bit and I would say, okay, I know you have overhead, you have insurance, you have to pay rent. Like, yes, you can't sell me these things for $2, but not 200, right? Because then you can try on frames and there's definitely a benefit to playing around with stuff. And then they have all that cool equipment. And if they like you can put on the test lens kit. They cut your lenses for you. In that process of making a lot of reductions, it feels super nice to have a local optic shop where you have a close relationship with them and you can play around with their testing gear, right? And you can play around with their frames. So if you're paying 20 at Zenny, right? And maybe you're paying 45 at that shop, it might still almost be worth between the bone structure and the test lens kit and everything else to support a local shop. I'm not saying you should, because it's definitely an investment of time to find somebody, but some of my favorite experiences go back to, there was a guy in Phnom Penh who taught me how to cut lenses because he would get bored during the day and I was always there. You know what I mean? He was literally like on that lathe going, this is how the thing works. And it added to the whole experience, I don't know.
Yes, I'm going to definitely try. I'm planning to move somewhere else once I can leave the country, because now I'm stuck here. And I have a lot of projects for the next few months. And one of those is going to a local that is not a chain, because when it's a chain, store, it's harder to negotiate because they have to ask their superiors and the chain of command and blah, blah, blah. But if it's locally owned, that the owner itself or one employee, shorter chain of command, yes, you can negotiate things with them.
Yeah.
Because I went to some places and they wouldn't sell me glasses without having a prescription over there.
Yeah, for sure. And for example, like another example, I was in Germany and there's a chain called Fielmann there. It's just an optical chain and they don't advertise this, but if you buy frames from them, they cut your lenses for free. So I buy the lenses on eBay for nothing, right? They send it to you, the big round lenses, they just send it to you in the same bag the optometrist get. So you pay nothing for the lenses on eBay, or they charge like €7 or something, I forget. But as long as you buy the frames there, and the frames are reasonably priced, you just hand them the lenses. They ask 0 questions about prescriptions or anything. They just cut those lenses into your frames. Awesome. Because the hardest thing sometimes is finding the right frames, and having a local shop for that stuff is handy. And they're a big chain, right? And they just do that.
And there are a lot of factors that you have to keep in mind, like your face shape, your peripheral vision, the light, because if you have a high prescription like me, you don't want to spend a lot of money on light frames, light lenses. My husband went to lower his prescription. Actually, he told the employee over there, they were really nice, that he's using the computer a lot, so he thinks that his prescription is too high. He wears minus 1.25, and they help him lower, but because he has a really low myopia prescription. They didn't want to do that with me, but with him they were cool. And because it was his birthday the same month, and because it was the second time he bought glasses over there, they gave him a 30% discount.
Yeah.
So yes, it really depends on the prescription and who's in charge in that moment.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of times I just say buy stuff online, but when you start talking about face shape and stuff, there's so much. Of course, I'm silly because I'm into this, but there's people that make custom frames. I found a shop in Hong Kong. They literally, you sit down with them and like, these are artists, right? And that's what they do. They look at your face shape and they start from nothing. They make your pair of frames. I found one in Berlin also, and they do beautiful stuff. Like, it's art, like it is a sculpture for your face. And then you just find an optic shop that cuts you new lenses for those frames. So there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot you can do, right? If you get sidetracked on that journey.
I've been thinking, once I gain my vision back, I want to wear not glasses, but this shield type sunglasses that they cover. Yeah. They don't really have a frame. They are the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that I have really sensitive eyes, so if the wind is too strong, or there are particles, or it's too dry, or I feel more comfortable if I have right now I have like I call it this kind of shield. It's like a helmet that blacksmiths wear.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's really popular here in Japan, the light version, the plastic version, because people here don't like to get tan.
Right. Yeah.
So I use that actually to protect my face from strong winds. Now it's the rainy season, and it's crazy how strong the wind is. So that's something I've been thinking to protect, the eyes.
Yeah. And you can have fun with that. I think I'm just getting on this topic because you were talking about face shape and stuff. And I remember I went through this whole rabbit hole of, while I'm already there, right? Like, there's so many variations on the theme. And in a way, I'm not sad about the online stuff because it's killing the monopoly of retail optometry on the narrative, right? Because it's a prescription. That word annoys me already because it's not, it's a subscription, right? Like, it's pieces of plastic, like, really, come on. But then there's all this like there are local plants, and local flowers that you might admire. There's local people that are doing cool stuff because not everybody just wants to run a normal optic shop, like the guys that make custom frames, like just beautiful things that I fear get lost in this online shopping world, you know?
But they could go online.
They could, yeah, but a lot of times they're just artists who like making stuff, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah, well, if
there
they
must
can.
be some there. I feel like Japanese do a lot of craft art stuff.
Yes, and they sell it online
Yeah.
a lot of time because
There's,
if you don't go online, it doesn't matter how good is your product or service. You don't have exposure anymore. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I had to put my face online.
I wanted to ask you that, you know, because um, how does it feel? I mean, what gave you the confidence
Nothing.
of nothing?
No, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It was faceless before, but people would insist. And because I'm like, who cares who it is? Doesn't matter. It's about the information, right? But
Actually,
get
yeah.
people get really insistent on who the person is. I don't like it at all. I'm really not a fan. I would like to be completely anonymous and just not. It's too much, right? Like this one too many thing is really tough. And right now it's fine because it's a small community, but I'm super fearful of the general internet public. Like people get really shitty online, you know, when they're hidden behind a screen, and there's so many of them, and I'm just one guy. Not now, but I used to. There was a period where we used to get a lot of email from optometrists, not a lot, but I would get hate mail from optometrists, and it was like, I didn't even want to open my email anymore because it was just kind of, it's too much. Like the bullying from strangers on the internet. Yeah. So
You're so brave because of that. I really admire you, because if it wasn't because of I mean, you know that by brave, I mean, you're afraid and you still do it. It's not that you don't feel fear at all.
yeah, except the word isn't brave. The word is stupid.
No.
It's the actual,
Stupid, it
no,
would
it
be.
is. It is, because sometimes I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, really? Is this necessary?
And
Even
you
these
know what?
podcasts, like the podcast, for example, I asked people for years, just make a little video, right? Like just tell us about your improvements. And nobody would do it, or 3 people would do it, right? And the Facebook group has like, at the time, like 10,000 members. I'm like, how can nobody? And all it took is me to also be there and call it a podcast, right? But it's like, again, it's not brave. It's just, I can't get you to just look at your phone and record a thing. Like we have to have a conversation. So it's like, you know, I'm getting dragged into it little by little. That's really all it is.
You're the kind of leader who becomes a leader, not because it wants to be a leader, but because the situation drags him to be the hero, even if he doesn't want to.
Yes. And that's why I have this beard, this
Yeah.
hero-esque beard.
That's something that I already mentioned, but I'm going to say it again. I really love the fact that you mock the gurus.
I'm not mocking anyone.
I just love it because
I know. Yeah. But I got into trouble for that too. Okay, here's a great example. The guru thing has many reasons, right? Like for one is, I don't want, the titles to me are annoying, because a person gets a title and then the title ascribes them power, like doctor, you know, like a person is hiding behind a title.
Yes.
Right? So guru to me was the most appropriate silly title. And the part of it that was mocking was Western people pretending to be gurus, not the Indian ones. But then Indian people got mad at me because it has a different meaning there. And I didn't mean that, you know what I mean? Like I didn't intend that at all, but it was a shitstorm at some point. I'm like, oh man.
But you know what? It doesn't really matter what you do in your life. A lot of people are not gonna like, and that's one thing that I learned from bullies. And it really gave me a lot of courage, is that because I move around a lot and I had to make friends from, well, it's not like I wasn't interested, but I had to move to a new environment, new high school, new town, everything new. Most of the times people didn't give me the chance to be myself. They just judge me and criticize me and tag me before even speaking to me. So that became the foundation of my mindset. Like, if the worst thing that can happen is that people will criticize me, judge me, and reject me, then I'm gonna do it anyway. They're going to piss off anyway. So the less, at least I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna be who I want to be, because they are going to be pissed anyway. They're going to judge me. They're going to try to bully me, because bullying is when it's, coming and going. But if it's just one-sided, they just, being stupid.
That's a good point.
So if they're going to reject you, they're going to criticize you, they're going to talk shit about you anyway, then you better do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And in a way, like, I enjoy it more. And it's also much harder. It's harder for the haters to attack me in particular, because I'm already making fun of myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when people are like, he's not for real, I'm like, well, no, am I not?
Yeah, you call us kittens. That says a lot. Yeah, but I like it because cats are independent.
They are, right?
They have.
There's no. Yeah, who knows? But in the end, I'm happy that, like, it's worth it to me. It started for different reasons, but it's worth it for us to have this conversation, right? And like, you making these great improvements and reductions, and it's kind of humbling to me to be able to be part of some aspect of that.
You know something? Sorry.
Like, I'm hoping that in a few years we're gonna chat again, and you're not gonna have glasses, and that'll be the whole story.
And the best thing ever is going to. I was talking once with a couple of friends, and she also has a really higher prescription than me. And she said, "Does your husband wear glasses, like high prescription?" And I said, "No, he doesn't wear glasses most of the time." And she said, "Oh, because the myopic genes are transmitted by the mother. So if you have high myopia, then your kids will most likely have." I got so angry. I wanted to punch her, because she was saying like, "Oh, like, you have dark hair, then your kids will probably have dark hair."
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. And I didn't say anything, but I thought, you know what? I was hesitant to do something about my myopia and my eyesight problems, but I don't want my kids to go through the same experience. And if they ever come saying, like, "Mommy, I cannot see clearly," I will say, "Okay, don't worry, kiddo. I know how to handle."
No phones. That's the main thing with kids, right? I keep saying this: phones are not for kids.
No phones,
right?
no TV.
Yeah. Well, I have a little bit. Like, I have a kid, and he gets to watch movies, but the distance is really important. There's him holding a phone is absolutely forbidden. I always say it's like coffee and alcohol, right? Coffee, alcohol, phone, those fall in the same category. If you let your kid drink whiskey, then fine, let him play with the phone too. But right? Like,
yes. And I see so many parents doing that. Like, calm down. I'll give you my phone, or just watch TV, but leave me alone.
And it's not the parents' fault. They don't realize.
It is their fault. It is their fault. Why they have kids then if they are not going to pay them attention? And when people ask me, "Oh, you did homeschool. Are you going to send your kids to school?" Like, no way. Like, why? Like, why? Why I would like to have kids that I'm going to just grab them and leave it somewhere else to somebody else raise them.
Yeah. Well, I do that sometimes, so.
Yeah, but sometimes, but.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to be, like, I'm trying to see it from everybody's side as much as I can, right? Like, I'm assuming the best in people, and I'm like, I could see how you have a job and you're stressed and you're arguing with your grandparents or whoever, yeah, and then your kid is screaming, and there is this easy fix, right? When you don't know what it does, like, I think, like, you're not going to give your kids alcohol to sleep, right? People used to.
They give them sugar.
right? They give them sugar, well, which likewise they don't know, right? You know what I mean? I think a lot of it is an educational problem. Like, you're not going to give your kids a sip of whiskey to go to sleep, right? Because you know it's bad. I think if people really knew, like, holding the phone that close to a kid's face will cause myopia, period, right? If parents really know that, I think they would be like, all right, we're not going to do that necessarily.
Now that's something I want to ask you. You work as a coach also, right? Is really knowledge what makes the difference?
I think so. I think, okay, a big problem, as far as I'm concerned right now, is that people don't know how dangerous a phone is, like how addictive that device is. And the people who manufacture these things and push these things on every level, right? Like from the people who make the phones to the people who provide the software experience, there's no warning label. You know, I mean, there's no like, spending 8 hours in front of this thing will affect you in so many ways. It's left for people to assume, but we live in a societal structure where things that are bad for you in general are meant to be either have a warning or be not legal, or there's varying degrees of you shouldn't be doing this. None of that happens with smartphones, and they're the most addictive, most risky thing that we play with total impunity. Like 3-year-old children watching cartoons from their crib with a phone stuck in front of them, to me, is that should not be happening without a very obvious warning. You know, like, if your kid is doing this, this is like effects that there may be. And I think that will come at some point, but we're still in the Wild West where, you know, they used to put whatever morphine in cough drops. You know what I mean? Like, we're not there yet, but I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, just to say we're going through a period of time where these are new tools and we haven't fully explored how not great they are, maybe in every way. I don't know. I have to think positive. Otherwise, I'm just going to, you know.
Shut everything down and kill myself.
Yeah, it's just, it would be too much if we're just going to be like, this is all, people are just greedy and they don't care. Right? Like, I'm going to go with the assumption that
I wish some people were a little bit more greedy. I think that if you really want something and you're willing to pay the price, you'll get the result. But again, I see how most people, first, they don't feel like they deserve something good.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they are so used to the drama. Like, that's why I quit practicing psychology, because I would give people advice, but I didn't see any signs of, okay, I want to change. I want some advice and something to fix things quickly on the surface.
Yeah, that's true.
When I changed my career, I think,
yeah,
I want to work with people who are ready, and that's something also common that I see on the group. You have to be ready to change and willing to put the effort.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it really depends on you. It doesn't matter how bad or how many conspiracies are out there, unless you do something about your life, not saving the world, but eventually.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a big topic. It's definitely, you can start on the big topic anywhere, because I see people that are really into other health things. But once you start digging in and realizing, like what you said with diet and allergies, right? Like, to me, it doesn't really matter where you start. Once you open that door and you realize you're not a victim, right? That whenever doctors say it's genetic, I get annoyed already, right?
Me too.
My thyroid wasn't working, and my parents who are doctors are like, oh, it's genetic. I'm like, oh, interesting. And as soon as I hear that word genetic, I'm already in research mode, because I'm like, that is probably not the case. And
you're so right. You're so right. You're absolutely right. In my family, most of my relatives, they are overweight. They have diabetes. They have high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I don't have any of those, thanks to the fact that I had allergies when I was young. So I had to change my diet drastically, and so did my parents. So my mom is healthy. I am healthy. My dad is healthy. So eyesight sometimes is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Because it's related to so many things. The thing you say about how you walk when you're wearing glasses, it gives this impression of your yourself and the way people interact with you. And imagine if they mistake you for someone who's not confident or who's shy or doesn't have social skills.
Which also, curiously, and this is not my area, but cause and effect there are curious, right? Because you're walking with your head down because you can't see in front of you otherwise. Affects your physical self because your shoulders start to droop, your neck is forward, but you're fine, right? But sometimes appearing like you're shy or weak or introverted will make you that way, right?
Yes,
like how people say when you smile, you feel better. It's the same kind of thing where you were fine mentally, but your posture has made you look that way. You can become that way, right? Like there's a lot of, the rabbit hole of eyesight gets pretty far when you really dig into all that.
That you mentioned that, you remind me of something. I told you that my glasses keep falling because of the shape of my nose. So I unconsciously do this, try to hold.
It looks good though.
And a lot of people misinterpret that as me being proud. Like I'm looking above my shoulder. And there was this lady who told me, "Oh, I recognize you because you have this, you walk like this, like that I'm better than you, vibe." And I was like, I'm just trying to hold my glasses, I'm not thinking like I'm better than you. But it gave them that impression. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, that explains why so many people dislike me. They thought I was arrogant.
But then also, the other thing that tends to happen is when people treat you as arrogant, you kind of adopt the thing that they ascribe to you, right?
Yes, you unconsciously absorb that into you, and like, well, I have these kind of arrogant moments, and it's true.
Yeah. Well,
but was I arrogant in the beginning, or I became arrogant because people started treating me like that?
Who knows, right? But another reason to go maybe find a friendly local optometrist to maybe sort out this thing.
It can fix my social problems.
Maybe, who knows? Yeah. Or it's just fun to play with frames while you're already at it.
Yes, it is. I'm gonna definitely try. So it's been like an hour.
It's been an hour, which
I'm curious. Like, for me, it's no problem. I'm curious, how are you going to organize this thing? Because I'm going this way, that way, and then coming back.
I'm literally going to upload it and then have fun, everybody. There isn't a format. Like my number one goal is to get as many people as possible, talk about their own experience, right? And I don't know, I'm not a good podcast. It's not my thing, right? My first goal was just you to talk about your vision has improved so people see it's not just me talking. But now I'm turning it into, I don't really care. And I'm sorry to everybody listening. I'm not making it for people listening. I'm genuinely like curious what happens, right? Who are you and what happened on this journey and what else is interesting while we're chatting? Because otherwise I can't do 100 podcasts, right? If it's just how much did your eyesight improve? So I'm literally going to upload it to you first, and then if you're happy with it, it's just going to be what it is.
Yes, I signed up for it, so
I think it'll be good though. We've talked about different stuff. I think that's fun.
Yes, I hope that people get the idea of that everything is connected to everything. And for me, my personal experience is that I started this by being frustrated about my eyesight, but it turned out I had a lot of issues in many areas of my life, and it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to just improve my vision and nothing else. No, I started looking at my diet, my workout routine, how I interact with people, because I noticed, okay, reading books for extended periods of time, it was actually an excuse not to interact with people, because I didn't feel like listening to their drama. Like literally, I would just I went on a social reunion, family reunion. I'm gonna grab my book and I'm just gonna literally hide it behind.
Yes,
we just blah 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 blah. Like I'm not listening.
Yeah.
But I cannot hide forever. Like I'm not going to run from every single family reunion, from every single.
I will.
Yeah, some of them, yeah. But my husband keeps pushing me, saying like, "You're smart. How can you not figure out this?" And like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? Challenge accepted. I'm going to figure out the way how to deal with people's drama. And you may think, what is people's drama had anything to do with your eyesight? Well, maybe your eyesight problems are just a way to excuse yourself from not facing other problems.
Very possible. Well, we're gonna. I'm keep saying this, but I feel like we're gonna have to have a follow-up in a year or two, and
Yeah.
see where your eyeballs are and where things are. Right? Like if we fix this or
How it
change
rolls.
this. Yes. If it made any difference.
Of course. Yeah. I look forward for it.
All right, so that was definitely, I hope you found this useful and interesting. Let me know what you think. The format keeps slowly mutating as this is kind of a new kind of side project. If you have suggestions, please feel free to share. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the podcast if you like. See you in the next one.
Meow, 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 meow.